Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT psychotherapy. The George Brassey podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business. Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business, Chicago Heights, Illinois, despite some members of the council being absent, freezing weather and meeting remotely due to COVID restrictions. On Tuesday night, the Chicago Heights City Council approved a number of projects to continue moving forward the city's beautification projects. Architectural services. With Alderman Vincent Zaranti sitting in as acting mayor for Mayor David Gonzalez, the council approved an agreement for architectural services with TRIA Architecture. Under the $23,000 agreement, TRIA will provide a space needs analysis of the municipal garage and water department facilities. The company will analyze existing facilities and determine whether an upgrade or a totally new facility is needed, based on current and future needs. TRIA has provided architectural services for other local municipalities such as Country Club Hills, designing its amphitheater, storage and fleet maintenance facilities, and upgrading its recreational center. Morton Arboretum Grant. The council voted to accept an award of $15,000 from the Morton Arboretum through its Urban and Community Forestry Grant. The grant will pay for a tree inventory of the city. Funding for the grant is provided by the United States Department of Agriculture Forest Service through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Urban and Community Forestry Program. It offers urban and community forestry grants to municipalities, which are required to pass a tree preservation/protection ordinance before the end of the grant period. Engineering services. The council also approved proposals totaling $842,000 for engineering services for various city infrastructure projects. Chief of Staff Karen Zarant said the projects include sewer and resurfacing work around the city. The council approved an agreement with Grand Capital, North America, LLC, to induce the sale and development of the city-owned real estate at 560 and 570 West Lincoln Highway. Jack Hines, city economic development consultant, said the parcels are the sites of the former Lorenzetti's restaurant and car lot next to it. Grand Rapid Capital has done a number of developments in the city. In other business, Chief of Staff Karen Zarant gave the council an update on January's Illinois Department of Public Health vaccination clinic, hosted by the city. She said about 250 people registered online. The city plans to hold another vaccination clinic, in conjunction with IDPH, in February. Chicago Heights Fire Chief Jeffrey Springer announced the promotion of Captain Tony Mascalino to Assistant Fire Chief. The council approved a redevelopment agreement to induce the sale of the city-owned surplus real estate at 1902 Euclid Avenue, through the city's Abandoned Property Acquisition Program. And the city's city towing services agreement was renewed. Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassey podcast. I'm so glad to welcome our next guest to the podcast, Trustee Desiree Watkins from the Village Olympia Fields. Trustee Watkins, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate you, George. Thank you so much.
Trustee Watkins is currently a member of the Board of Trustees in Olympia Fields. She's also a member of the Board of Trustees at DuSable Museum. Before we get into your campaign, if someone in the audience didn't know about the DuSable Museum, what would you tell them about it?
Well, right now, I would first say that it's the oldest African-American museum in the United States. And with the pandemic, it's really hurt a lot of businesses, especially museums. So I'm hoping that if they don't know, I hope they go to the online, look us up, Google us, look at the information, and please support and, buy a membership. I think our memberships are really inexpensive. So I think I would start there.
Absolutely. And how long have you been a member of the board for the museum?
Just about the same time as trustees. So about 2 years now.
Well, this has been a busy 2 years for you, I'm sure.
George, tell me about it.
Well, let's go back in time. Tell us a little bit about your professional background and what led you to the Village of Olympia Fields.
Yeah, so if we're talking about my career, I guess my first real job started in accounting and finance. But if we're referring to my career, I would say it started when I worked at Accountants on Call. Mm-hmm. That's a staffing company specializing in accounting. It's so funny. The more I think about my career in staffing, it started much like my road to politics. I was working at a company, automotive company, and they were relocating. And I went into the staffing company to help find a job for myself and walked out with a job offer. And I had never been in recruiting or anything like that, but they saw something in me that they thought I would be good at sales. And that was the beginning of my career. So I spent, most of my career in staffing. I was the number one recruiter within 6 months. I actually opened up an office within a year. I did a startup for them. And it was just a great opportunity and, something I wouldn't have expected to be doing. But that's what I did for most of my career until I moved to Illinois and started working with my husband in our family business. And my husband is a board certified ophthalmologist. We have 2 offices in Northwest Indiana. I run the office. I do all the accounting and finance for the office. And that's what I'm doing now.
Tell us, where did you grow up and how long have you been in Illinois?
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, so I am from Motown. And I'm bred Motown because my aunt used to be of the Supremes, Diana Ross and Supremes. So I grew up with a studio in the basement and the Temptations were over, Aretha Franklin was over. So I really lived the Motown dream. So that's where I'm from. I met my husband in 2002, relocated to Illinois, and son graduated from HF. And I thought after he graduated, we were going to move downtown Chicago into a condo or something and live happily ever after. And then this house popped up in Olympia Fields and I'm here. And actually, it was probably the best move I think I've made. Sometimes you have a plan yourself and it's not the plan for you. And so here I am in Olympia Fields and I've been here for almost 7 years. And within that 7 year, 7 years, I've been on the HOA. I was a treasurer for many years. Then now I'm on the board of trustees. So you just never know what may happen.
What would you say is something that attracted you to the Village of Olympia Fields as a resident?
Well, the homes are beautiful. My home, especially when I bought it, it was an instant. I just knew it was the home for me. I built my house when I was in Michigan, and this house actually sat on the market for a couple of years. It was in foreclosure. And I had a background in building houses and, for our practice, I gutted the building and worked as the lead general contractor on the project. So when I saw this house had been fire damaged, and it's over 7,000 square feet. It's beautiful. And I gutted it, took it down to the studs and redid it. So I love taking on projects. I love doing new things. So I would say the home initially attracted me to the village. But once I moved here, the community is what I love. The people, my neighbors, which is why I do what I do.
Running for elected office is a life-changing experience. Tell us what led you to making the decision to run for office.
Well, when I moved here, I didn't realize that next door to me was someone on the board for the Park District. And on the other side of me was the HOA president. And they actually the HOA president actually came over to my house and said, hey, do you want to join the Homeowners Association? And I said, sure. I had been to a few meetings and I joined, like I said, as treasurer, and I kind of made my husband join also. And that really began my road to politics, is what I call it. And I was a treasurer. We had in our bank about $5,000. I left it with $38,000. I went door to door collecting on our accounts receivable. And then once my term was over, after the 2 years the 2 terms that I served, I was there for 4 years. My other neighbor, which was on the Park District, approached me and said, hey, I don't know if you know George. Are you familiar with Tim Bradford? He was a commissioner at the Park District in Olympia Fields for over 30 years.
And former Democratic committeeman for Rich Township, correct?
Absolutely. He passed away in 2017, and they wanted to appoint me to his position. And so I interviewed at the Park District. And they called me a couple of days later and said, hey, we want to appoint you. You have it, but we think you'll be better serving the whole village as trustee. And I said, wait a minute, what? So back to here I am again in a position where, okay, other people are seeing in me something that I didn't even see in myself. And I just know that the basis of everything I do comes from helping and comes from wanting to help others. And so I didn't take that appointment, and I went ahead and ran my race for trustee. There were 8 other candidates in that race, and I was the number 2 voter getter. And here I am.
Are all homeowners in Olympia Fields part of one homeowners association, or was this just in a specific subdivision that you lived in?
A specific subdivision. I don't think all of the home subdivisions have a HOA. I'm not sure about that, but I know there are several. There are like 5 to 10 HOAs, and they're all based on where the person lives.
And just like the DeSable Museum, if somebody was in the audience wasn't familiar about what an HOA is, can you kind of explain that to the audience?
Well, HOA is just a homeowners association. It's just, it's built around the people that live in a certain community. We meet, we follow bylaws, we pay assessments that take care of, the shared, the grass, if you want to give Christmas parties or anything that you want to do as a community, it just brings everyone together so we can be on the same page.
You ran for trustee in 2019. It was the same cycle I ran for alderman. What was that experience running for trustee like in 2019 for you?
It was, I thought I had seen everything, but it was really stressful, George. I'm gonna be honest with you. Especially towards the end, I had anxiety I never knew I had. Mm-hmm. So it was really stressful running. But I enjoyed 2019 compared to 2021 because we're in a pandemic. But what I enjoyed the most were the coffee and conversations when I would go into, different people's homes and just sit and talk and meet people. I did it every weekend. I did a coffee and conversation in a different subdivision. And I would meet, 20 to 30 people, every Saturday. And so the experience for me is what's fueling me to run for office for village president. Is everything that I went through, I loved.
Speaking of your run to village president, tell us a little bit about your platform, what you believe in, what some of the challenges and opportunities are for the village.
I don't want to really be naive in answering that question, George, but when I look at Olympia Fields, all I see is possibilities. We are behind when I compare us to our surrounding villages as far as technology, communication, even collaboration. So I think it's going to be easy for me to step into this role and hit the ground running. I'm a new voice. A lot of the people that have been on the board or involved with the board or on the committees or commissions have been doing it for 20 plus years. And so, I think by my voice being, or even by me being on the trustee board, I've created an atmosphere where people are listening and people are willing to try new things and do new things. So I don't think that's a challenge. I don't look at it as a challenge. It may end up being a challenge, but I look at it more as an opportunity.
Now you're running as a trustee for mayor. Is there an incumbent mayor, or is the office or the seat wide open?
No, it's a three-way race. I'm running. The incumbent is running again.
Okay. How does your experience on the board, how does that weigh into the decision to run for mayor after only 2 years on the board for you?
Oh, it was an easy decision. I'm gonna be honest with you. I started out running for trustee and knowing that I wanted to be village president. And I took on, a lot of people just step into the village president or mayor role with no prior experience. I really wanted to be a trustee so I could, make connections with the employees at the village, meet my fellow trustees on the board and learn. And so, I've been reading books and, studying government because this is something new for me. So it was quite easy for me. Once the curtain was pulled back, I knew this is the place I need to be.
What when you look at Olympia Fields as a whole, you say there's behind on technology, they're behind on other things. Where's Olympia Fields leading in from your perspective?
That's a good question. Reputation, I think, for one.
I would agree to that too.
Yeah, reputation. And again, going back to your other question about moving here, people speak very highly of Olympia Fields. Per capita, it's one of the richest Black communities in the nation, next to Bowie, Maryland, and a little town called Lathrop Village in Michigan, which is right by where my mother lives in Southfield, Michigan. So reputation is something we're leading in, which is good. I mean, you want the people that live here to talk highly of where they live. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people, since, the average age in Olympia Fields is 57. So a lot of our residents are, senior citizens, and they're not, I don't want to say they're not involved in the government, but they're at home. It's the bedroom community. And so as long as the lights are on, they're safe, there's not very much going on, they're happy about that. As long as they can look out their window and see flowers and trees and other people being happy, they're okay. So they don't know a lot of what's going on behind the scenes, which is good. And I really want to keep it like that. I just want to push the needle forward in some of those things. When I say technology, we're still on an analog system. There are things that we really need to upgrade to be connected to the 21st century. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Being one of the wealthiest per capita African-American communities, that's something that Olympia Fields really should be proud of.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. But don't think we're too rich over here, George, now. We have some of the same issues that a lot of the Southland communities have.
I am an alderman in Chicago Heights, and we kind of my ward borders right up to Olympia Fields. So
yes.
And
I'm looking forward to collaborating with you on a lot of things. So that's a part of my platform. Back to your question is collaboration. I really, think that as a Southland area in general, we have to work together. So we should be at the table together. It should be one person from Madison, a person from Olympia Fields, a person from Homewood, a person from Chicago Heights, a person from Flossmoor. When we go into these big corporations, we need to be one voice. And I noticed that a lot of people work in silos. And to really be successful as a community, not just a Chicago Heights, not just Olympia Fields, we have to come together. And so I really, as mayor, want to do that.
Yeah, we definitely, as a South suburban region, we're a bit fractured. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and there are a lot of efforts to bring things together. The Mayors and Managers Association and the Chambers of Commerce. So I definitely agree 100% with your point there.
Yeah.
Trustee Watkins, so the last question we always ask is, what are 2 books that you would recommend to the audience that have been influential to you as a person?
George, when do we have time to read books? I'm running for office.
They could be audiobooks.
No, actually, currently I'm taking classes online at Harvard. So in saying that, a lot of the books I'm reading right now is related to school. So I'm reading Discover Your Clifton Strengths by Don Clifton. I actually went online and took the Clifton Strengths assessment and discovered a lot about myself. What do they say? I should pull that out. But I have what they call a woo theme personality. And according to the definition, people that are talented in the woo theme, I guess, personality, they love the challenge of meeting new people. They love winning people over. They derive satisfaction from breaking, barriers and, ice breaking, just breaking the ceiling. So I that really is in line and correlates to where I am right now in my life. And that actually reminds me of when I went to a Board of Trustee workshop as a member on the Disabled Board. The speaker was Sarah Taylor, and she wrote a New York Times bestseller actually called Filter Shift. And this book describes the notion of unconscious filters and how we create them and how we perceive the world through them and how these filters actually control our decisions. And a lot of people, I believe, are held back by these unconscious biases and misrepresentations and perceptions that even with the best intentions, we can't really help that filter that we see stuff through. So what I found is that Filter Shift provided me a blueprint for approaching different situations and people through a different lens. And so it's really helped me to move forward. So if you're into self-help books, I would recommend those 2.
When you mentioned those personality traits, I kept thinking to myself that all of those will definitely help you be a successful politician and public servant.
Thank you, George. I am looking forward to it. And I'm living it. And I'm enjoying it. And I think that I went to a neighbor's house, because you know what we got to do when we're campaigning, a lot of door knocks, right? So I went to, and surprisingly, they're opening up the doors during COVID. I was like, I'm standing 6 feet back with my mask on. But one of my neighbors told me, oh, there are a few people running in this race. And I said, yeah, it is, And they were like, are you concerned? I'm like, no, I'm not concerned at all. They said, you should be. And I said, well, why? And they said, because some people run for titles and other people run to work. And my neighbor said, you are running to work. And I appreciate that. And I said, thank you so much. So I said, I think I should use that as my tagline.
Trustee Watkins, do you have a slate that you're running with, or is this all on your own? How does it work in Olympia Fields?
Yeah, it's on my own. I ran on my own as trustee, and I'm running on my own as village president.
Trustee Watkins, where can the audience find you on the internet?
They can go to my website, which is Desiree, DESIREE, 4, olympiafields.com.
Thank you, Trustee Watkins, for coming on my podcast.
And I appreciate you having me, George. It was very nice speaking with you today.
Likewise. Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, 5th Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast. Help George stay on the Chicago Heights City Council. Go and donate today at tinyurl.com/AldermanGeorge 2023.